Back on St. John. This is the house that look at this view. Beautiful. There's Rob up there. Let's go up. And our room is down there. Rob, we're in the back seat of this car. How do you feel?
Oh, it's awful. Jesus Christ.
This is not where we're staying. This is the Westin. And this beautiful lobby of the Westin. That's what we want to be doing very, very soon. Nice. Here we are.
Hey, Les. How's the water?
To come back down. That's your only baby? There's one other one. I lost the other.
My yacht out there. Hey Les, what's going on for today? Huh? It's kind of raining over here, so we kind of stayed in.
Oh man, I get strong.
Wow. Look at that.
Alright, these are the hard two.
That's where we're going. Excellent. That's where he came down from. Look who's here!
Happy birthday, Aunt Leslie.
Hey babe, it's your birthday today. How you feeling?
36. What was that last year?
Yeah? How you feeling today?
But look at this bud at 36.
Hey, you got apple on your face.
Look at her.
Happy birthday to
Oh, look at her go.
First apple.
Mmm.
Happy birthday.
You like Daddy's apple?
You. Oh, look, she's got it on her nose now.
You got all those little fishes and shit.
Francis Bay.
This is the most...
Hey, what's going on there, Les?
A little rooster with his little baby. We're in Cruz Bay.
Let me see that rooster. Hold on.
Do a rooster sound, Rob. I don't know if you can see, but look at that monstrous ship right there. Hey.
Mama, take the thumbs off of me. 'Cause I can't shoot them anymore. Oh no, it's getting dark. Oh, jamming, 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 right straight from your jamming, 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 jamming. Together we get by. Jamming.
Yeah, try it.
This is even better.
What is it?
To me, Leslie.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
You go, Sarah.
There you go, honey. Look, Granddad.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday.
To me.
Happy birthday to you. I want to do it one more time.
right.
Happy birthday.
All right.
Can't talk about cha-cha. You don't want to be wrong, but no one does us no pain. The techniques are long, but the fight is something like okay, I think it's about okay, I think it's about shake, 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 Nora, shake your body night. Shake, 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 Nora, shake it all the time. Walk, 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 Nora, walk it all the time. Walk, 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 Nora, walk it all the time. She knows she's a sensation, like the rock is something like. Walk, 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 Nora, walk it all the line. Walk, 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 Nora, walk it all the time. Walk. Shake, 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 Nora. Shake, Nora. Shake your body now. Shake, 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 Nora. Shake it all the time.
Granddad?
That's what they call hot stuff.
Look at you and Scott. Nah.
This is the life,
Like
man.
they say in New Rob.
Come on in, baby.
Rob's like they say in New Orleans, hot tamale.
Look at this view.
Oh, honey, you got burnt.
Wow. We're gonna take that boat right there.
Nice little black lady. Came in a couple of months ago. I've known her a long time. I know her father. He's a good, nice man. He was injured, disabled, not able to do much, hold a regular job. But he's a pretty good mechanic, so he would get old cars cheap and put them in good shape and sell them. They're living in it. And then he got them a few years older, and then they was what do you call them? When they're 30, 40 years old.
Antiques?
Antiques, yeah, you know. So the price is double or triple or something like that. So same labor to fix it. He put the same parts in them or something.
Right.
Anyway, he died, and his wife is living. She's not well. This young woman came in. She's pregnant, and she'd been sued by the assignee of a credit card company. The credit card company assigned their for legal action, assigned their claim to death, and then they filed suit for the money. They tried to collect it. It's $5,000–6,000. And she said that she didn't owe it. It was her husband's bill. Her husband died 2 years ago.
Oh boy. This is.
Get in the family now.
Look, it's Bijan! Woo! Anita K right here.
What's that?
There he is from New York.
I'll see you over there.
Rob at the helm. Hi.
Oh, there you are.
Hello.
What do we have here?
We have a little redhead. Look what we found. A treasure.
Granddad, do you like it here?
Yes, I like it. Here I like it.
I'm thinking we might be able to lock her wheels and have her sit here while we boat. What do you think?
Hi.
Here, wait.
Mom's somewhere out there snorkeling back here. Here's Mom. Look at her go. Good swimmer. Come on, Mom. There she is.
You have that yellow thing on the side?
How was it, Mom?
Fabulous.
This water is great. And if you don't think I'm still 36, which is the reverse of your age, watch this.
Wow.
How's this for a
Granddad, you're at the helm here.
y'all? Oh, that's so cute.
Look at that. Does this bring you back to old days, Granddad?
Yeah, sure does.
Wow, that one.
Those were the days, my friend.
Rob, is
we
your
thought
boat
they'd never end.
bigger than that one?
No,
This one?
Yeah. Your dinner cruiser?
Oh, probably about that size.
That'll be our next boat, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So, I'm a little frustrated because balance sheet obviously had to balance. And I take these balance sheets, basically it said that companies had to account.
How'd you get your first bedroom set?
Bedroom set, our first furniture.
Furniture, yeah.
Well, I'll be back up from that. You first had to get married before you needed a bedroom.
Right.
Now, this was in 1935. Depression had been on since 1929. I hope none of you will ever live through a depression. It was so bad, literally so bad, that nobody had money, nothing. Homes were forwarded, people out in the streets. The government was trying to get things going a little bit. They made a great big program, recovery program, called the National Recovery Act by Congress. And they set it up to provide jobs for everybody, white collar, blue collar, green collar, white person, colored person, Negro, everybody. And the compensation was $18 a week in the North. And it was manual labor. It reported at 7 o'clock in the morning and with an hour off for lunch from 12 to 1 and worked till 5 in the afternoon, 8-hour day out in the hot sun, doing what? Some kind of labor, cleaning ditches, cutting grass in public places, some things of that nature. In the South, the pay was fixed by a statute, a federal statute, $15 a week, $18 in the North and $15 in the South, because allegedly it was cheaper to live in the South than to live in the North. So there was a $3 per week differential. Fine. Those are the conditions. I had grown men lay their heads on my desk. That was a young squirt lawyer. Lay their heads on my desk and cry. They simply couldn't do the work in the sun, and they couldn't get a job to support their family. I actually have represented two cases who stole bread to feed their family with.
Wow.
And they tried them for larceny. In those days, there were lots of little, small grocery stores in the neighborhoods. You had no big departments, no big grocery store like you do now, supermarkets. So the little neighborhood store was there, and the bread would be baked the evening before, and then the bread truck would go make the route in the neighborhood, and could leave the supply of bread for the storekeeper to have to sell. But the storekeeper would be in bed sleeping at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock, when the bread delivery was made. So they were what we call bread boxes outside on the sidewalk, outside the entrance door of each store, with a lock on it. And both had a key to that lock. The truck driver of the bread company and the little grocer. So when he got up and opened his store, he'd get the bread out, put it in there, and little boys would come in and say, "Dad," and buy a loaf of bread, take it out, and the bottle of milk and take it home. And then the bread was a nickel, and the fresh milk. The milkman would do pretty much the same, except he had to come a little bit later because he had to keep the milk cold. The milk was delivered in glass bottles, 5 cents a pint, 10 cents a quart, delivered either to the store or to your home and your front door every morning for 10 cents a quart. Bottle. Cold and fresh. Just the cow just milked, and not a cow ever protested being milked. Now, wait a minute. Now, so that brings us on down the line. And those are the conditions when Grammy and I were going to get married. I had won a case, a streetcar, and sued the streetcar company, the Mobile Light and Railroad Company, that owned and operated a trolley car. The streetcars were on the trolley tracks and they couldn't move. They had to just stop or start, and that's all. And there was a car in this, and it collided with a car. And the little girl was hurt, and I was able to get a judgment against them. I forget now, I think it was $1,500. And I got a $500 fee. And that was all the money I had, believe you me. In the meanwhile, Grammy had been, God bless her, she sort of got tired on me fumbling around and not making up my mind about anything. And she had a friend named Bernice Tuite, T-U-I-T-E. And she and Bernice went down to Florida. Not Orlando, what's the other city? I'll think of it. But the United States government had a make-work program in Central Florida, Ocala. Ocala was the name of the city. And Ocala was the center point for what was called the Big Ditch. Congress had authorized the expenditure of $5 million to start digging the Big Ditch. It was to be a canal all the way across the state of Florida from the Gulf of Mexico on through to the Atlantic Ocean on the east side of Florida. The purpose would be similar to the Panama Canal. The purpose would be to make transportation from the east coast to the west coast of the United States and vice versa through the through the Gulf of Mexico to the Panama Canal, to make it shorter and quicker without having to go all the way around Florida and Orlando and Key West and on through. So Grammy and Bernice went down there, and they were looking for anybody who could read, write, or who was intelligent, or could watch their face maybe. So Grammy went down there, and both got jobs on. They went out to see it, and they got jobs real quick on working with it. Grammy especially. She was working at that time for Hamel, the big department store in Mobile, the principal department store. And her job, she used a Burroughs bookkeeping machine. And her job was to post every debit and every credit on the customer's charge accounts, which kept her pretty busy. Every purchase and every payment. And have the statements ready to be mailed out for delivery on the first day of each month to each and every customer, and of course to have it totally, completely correct. If I'm talking too long, I'll shorten the story.
Wait.
They got a job down there. And that meant she wasn't in Mobile. And all of a sudden I began to realize that Grammy wasn't going to be there another 6 months or a year while I fiddled around. Couldn't make up my mind. Afraid of responsibility, you know.
And how long have you been dating?
A year or two. And of course, Grammy was a wonderful date because she always had a fresh box of candy. And Friday night, I'd call her about 5 o'clock, 5 or 6 o'clock, to come by and pick her up Friday, Saturday night to go to the movies. And I always liked it because she had a fresh box of candy. She had a real serious admirer named Manuel, what was his name?
Pulitzer.
Pulitzer. And he was from New Orleans, and he and his family were very rich. They made and sold neckties. I forget the name of the brand of the necktie, but they was all over the United States. They had national distribution on neckties, and they were a tremendous volume of business. Not only that, but he brought scraps of the neckties to Grandmother Robinson. And she loved him for that because, God bless her, she'd sew them together and make beautiful and very warm comforts
Oh, really?
out of them. Cheryl has one right now. She wouldn't get, you couldn't get it away from us, all the tea in China. Cheryl had one, and she loved it. Anyway, so I began to realize, and then Grammy wrote me a letter saying, should she come to Mobile for Christmas? And I dilly-dallied and didn't answer, and finally I sent a telegram. Mobile is the best vacation city in the United States, and you ask questions. I think she got a little teed off with me about that. She later told me she did, but she didn't hold me against me though. Anyway, she came to Mobile, and I remember she walked into the store at 413 Dolphin Street. And she walked in the store, she walked in, and I knew right then and there, I was not going to let her get away ever again. I knew that. So, and besides, I had $500, which I had never had before in my life. That is, from working. From the lawsuit that I'd won.
Right.
Now, I think the fee was, I think it was a $2,000 fee, and they said that they were going to appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States, of the Supreme Court of Alabama, of course. But that would drag it out, and they knew that. Then they offered me. Then they said they would settle it for $1,500 cash if I would reduce the judgment. So I did, and I had the money. So I had $500. So I had a day with Granny, and we rode out somewhere, and I almost got in trouble again. Because we'd gone somewhere on Dog River, and we were coming back. It was summer. We were coming back, and the windows were open, and I stopped on the road. I was trying to smooch a little bit. And Grammy said, "You can't stay here." I said, "Oh, come on, don't let that bother." I said, "Why not?" She said, "Can't you tell what's wrong?" I said, "No." She said, "Can't you smell?" I said, "What difference does that make?" You're in the middle of a cabbage patch. It's rotting. They rotted last fall. I said, "Oh my God." She said, "It smells terrible." I said, "Let's go." Okay. That's what Grammy learned from fighting growing up. I had my nose broken a couple of times. And then as my children later, Cheryl, Becky, Robbie, Roy used to say, "Daddy can stink, but he can't smell." Anyway, funny games. So I asked Grammy to marry me. And of course, God bless her, she said she would. And if she said no, it would have been a mistake of her life and my life too. But thank goodness she had the right answer.
That night you asked her?
I don't recall which night.
Oh.
It was only a few days. Then she had to go back to Florida.
Oh, right, okay.
So she had to go back to Florida, complete and turn in and resign, and so on. But how were we going to get to Florida? So between the two of us, Grammy had a Plymouth automobile. It was in pretty good shape. So between the two of us, we schemed out from Grammy to borrow the car to drive to town with. And I'd go down by the front of the bank building on St. Joseph Street, and she'd come by and pick me up, and we'd get in a car and we'd go to Florida. We'd drive all the way down to Ocala. So that's what we did. But we got over in Baldwin County or somewhere, and I told Evelyn told me, we've got to call Mother Robinson and tell her that we have a car, so she won't, she'll know where we are. So I said, "I ain't gonna call her, you call her." She said, "Oh, she wasn't gonna call her." I said, "Let's send a telegram." And she came and asked questions. We sent a telegram from Evelyn said, he said, borrowing our car for a few days, and Charlie was driving her down to Florida, and he returned it within a few days. And please understand, and please forgive, and please don't tell. Anyway, so we drove down to Florida, to Ocala, and I stayed at, Grammy was living in a house where she rented a room, and with her friend Bernice. They lived in a room in the home of a man who was the chief of police of Ocala, Florida. And he had another room there. So there was another young man that thing, and there were 2 bedrooms. There's an empty room, bed in the room, and I stayed with him for a few days. And that's when I began to collect my information and gather the information and arranged in Jacksonville at a synagogue to go there on a certain night, on July 31, on December 31, on New Year's Eve. And meanwhile, a young man whom I was rooming with in Ocala, he was from Jacksonville, and his family belonged to a club that had a big New Year's Eve party in the same hotel. It's the biggest hotel in Jacksonville. And they invited us to come, so we went there. So we went and we drove from Ocala to Jacksonville.
And what year is this?
1935.
Right.
And meanwhile, I looked up the law and I found I could give them a license in one county, get married in another. And I went to Orlando and bought a beautiful ring for Granny, wedding ring. And we drove to Jacksonville, we were married. And then we went to the same hotel, went to the big ball that they were playing. Now I had to tell my Evelyn, mother and daddy, and my mother and daddy that we were married. But I said I didn't want to send a telegram on New Year's Eve. So my brother Louis would be going out onto a party or a dance or some kind on New Year's Eve. And if I sent the telegram, my folks would be upset. Probably might be upset. And it would spoil my brother's New Year's Eve. So we didn't send it till the next night. So on January 1, we sent a telegram to Evelyn's folks and mine.
Were they happy when you got back?
Yeah, well, my daddy was a little, God bless him. He said, you deprived me of the pleasure of a parent. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I know now exactly what he meant. Mm-hmm.
What did he say? You deprived me of a...
But then how did you get the furniture?
Oh, furniture, well, we got married, had that. So, Grammy quit a job. A few days later, we came to Mobile. And we stayed with some friends for a few days. And then we had to have a place to live. So, I was able to locate and rent an apartment in the Warwick Apartments on Dublin Street. And we needed furniture. Well, Hoffman Furniture didn't have what we wanted. And Louis said, well, if you go to New Orleans, to the wholesale company there, New Orleans Furniture Company, he said, I'm sure they'll have what you want. We telephoned over there. Yeah, they did have mahogany. They did have, Grammy wanted a mahogany bedroom suit, and she wanted a solid maple living room suit, and so on. So they had it. So we went over there. But I'd blown my $500 in the meanwhile. Well, I got a ring and all that.
Yeah.
And so on. So I didn't blow it. I had maybe $100 left. But that had to pay some rent, and that was security money. And Granny had $1,000. God bless her, she had saved all the working she had done.
Wow.
So she agreed to lend me that money. And so I borrowed that $1,000, and we talked about it 100 many times laughingly. And I never paid her back.
Yeah, you did.
Never paid her back. And God bless her, I still owe her. In heaven I owe her. I'll pay her.
Wait, you still sleep on that same bed, right?
We went over there and we bought a mahogany bedroom suite. That was a bedroom, that was a bed.
The 4-poster bed?
The 4-poster bed we have on, the chest of drawers in the bed in our living room, all solid mahogany, and the table on my side of the bed.
Oh, wow.
So that's a bed. Now also we also got a solid mahogany, not mahogany, a solid maple living room suite, a couch that would seat 3 people, and 2 very nice chairs. One of the chairs we still have. It's the one in the den with the back looking into the kitchen.
Right.
And Grammy sat in that chair and nursed Cheryl Becky Robbie Roy, believe me.
Oh, wow.
And it's still there. As far as I'm concerned, it's going to stay there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we also, the apartment didn't have a big dining room, had a little dinette.
Right.
So we also got a dinette table, which is a smaller dinette would indicate being smaller than a full size, but it's, and also a full dinette chair. And we had those and we loved them and we enjoyed them and used them for many years. We still have the bedroom suite and one chair. But I still don't have Grammy.
That's history for you.
But I do not have Grammy.
What?
But I don't have Grammy now.
Yeah.
So that's the story of the bedroom suit that Grammy loaned me the money for, and I didn't. It's the only debt in my life I never paid. Because I gave her tons and tons and tons of money, but that was not that $1,000. So we laughed. She wouldn't let me pay that back.
Oh, really?
I had to be indebted to her all the rest of my life. I told her I'd be indebted to her forever for marrying me.
Well, she was a good saver then. She saved all that money.
She sure did. Grammy was that.
And she paid all the bills too, right, in the house?
Well, we sort of had a rule. Yeah, Grammy had her bank account, and I had mine, which was the office account. And I would put, once a month, I'd put a certain amount of money in, depending on how many children they had, what the overhead was, and so on. And I put it in there, and she'd run the house on that money, and it was very modest over the years. Grammy could buy a dress. Not the most expensive and certainly not the cheapest. But she could buy a dress and make it look like $1 million.
I know.
She made clothes look good.
She did.
All dressed. Everything she put on, she always looked well groomed. Well groomed, spick and span. Shirley, Becky, and Robbie always looked shining clean, like shining faces.
When they were young.
Well, after she got beyond Grammy's jurisdiction, then it was a matter of self-assertion. Depends on how much. Depends on what they did with themselves.
And you were
smelled good too, Granddad.
And you told me that she really wanted her children to go to school.
Oh yeah, well the one thing she wanted was all our children should graduate from college. Her daddy was, the depression was on, and he and everybody, mother too, all wanted Roy Robinson, her brother, who was a beautiful nice looking young man. He looked very much like Grammy. But they wanted Roy to go to college, and he did. He graduated from the University of Alabama, I think about 1930 or 31, 1929 or 30. And the depression was on, he couldn't get a job, so he joined the Marine Corps. A 2-year hitch. At that time, the Marine Corps had an examination every year among enlisted men who volunteered for the examination. And if they passed with certain grades, good grades, then they were given a commission of second lieutenant. And he took the exam, and he passed, and he was commissioned. And he stayed in, and he worked his way up. He was the second lieutenant, the first lieutenant. One of the chores was in the middle of the 30s, 38, 36, 37. He was stationed on board a ship that President Roosevelt traveled on. President Roosevelt was a Navy man by desire. And his Navy was his favorite among military services.
Granddad, do you think the world will change 94 years from now as much as it has 94 years ago when you were born?
No, I answer no, because I don't think there's that much room for change. But I know darn well they probably will anyway, in spite of my doubt in that degree.
What didn't you have?
Because I remember when they mostly horses and wagons, not automobiles. I remember when a bicycle was a big front wheel thing and a little small second wheel in the rear.
Wow.
When it wasn't no regular. I remember when the street lights were so dark, it'd be better if they didn't turn them on. Remember, the streetcars were pulled by horses.
There were no fans like this?
No, there were no fans, period.
No lights like that?
Oh yeah, we had electric lights and one drop cord with one bulb.
That's what they still have in
Hanging down. That was it in every room.
No TV like that?
Oh, it didn't look like anything. No radio, no television. No, wait now, hang on. Gas, there was no natural gas. There was manufactured gas. And there was sent in over pipeline.
Oh boy.
And my mother would buy, and it was a meter. It was a quarter meter. 25-cent piece. You put a quarter in the meter and you got a certain quantity of gas. You cook for just a certain length of time.
Wow.
And then if you're half cooked maybe, then when you ran out of gas, the gas cut off. And you had to have another quarter in the house. Not 2 times a nickel or 5 nickels or any other combination. You had a quarter to go in the quarter meter to put in quickly so you could finish cooking your dinner.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was cash.
So the kitchen that we see over here is completely modern. No telephone, really? Did you have telephone?
Well, I remember there were no phones. I remember when we first got a phone, there were 2 phones. One called a bell telephone, one called a home telephone. They're 2 separate phones. And you had to have one or the other phone book. 2 separate phone books.
You can't do a damn thing if you don't have decent.
Wow.
And none of them were very good. Very few automobiles. Very few painted roads, paved roads.
Certainly no cell phones. Could you imagine being able to have a phone that you could carry around?
Of course. Well, it's really, a telephone, a portable, a cell phone is a small radio station.
Right.
It broadcasts and it receives. But it really is.
I mean, things that you couldn't even imagine now exist.
Well, you didn't have
Computer,
anything. Oh no.
Yeah.
Computer.
but no air conditioning. Must have been hot as
No
all.
air conditioning.
When did that develop?
Oh, let's see. When Grammy and I were married, we had a window fan. A window fan. That was the first big thing. First there were little oscillating fans, maybe 6-inch blades, and they go when they go from side to side, and then boo, and the span would be about 40 degrees. That would be all. And all they do is blow the hot air around a little bit.
Right.
Then a great thing occurred. They discovered for heating. To heat your house, you had to have a stove or a fireplace. And with a fireplace, you had a little fire going in it. And you come in from the cold, and you stand in front and warm your front and rub your hands together. Then you turn around and let your backside get warm. And while your backside wasn't getting warm, your front would freeze. Then you turn around and repeat the process front back until you're well done on both sides. And then we had gas, we call them radiant fires, but it was open flames.
Yeah.
And they were dangerous because they consumed the oxygen in the air. And if you had a tight house and had a radiant fire going and consumed oxygen in the air, You were asphyxiated.
Oh.
Dead.
Wow.
D-E-A-D. D-A-I-D. Either way is better. You're dead.
Wow.
Now they made them unlawful. You're not allowed to have them.
Oh, look who's got you today.
Grand color.
Cinnamon Bay. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Cinnamon Bay.
Yes, we are.
You'll be in there in a minute. Yeah, you'll be in there in a minute, boy. You will.
What you got there, honey? How you feeling today, babe?
Yeah, a little tired.
These are like all camping.
Oh, this is it?
Well, let's just see a couple of things real quick. A little general store. And this, isn't this cute? How are you?
Hey, Les.
Cinnamon Bay. This is my Caribbean dress. So you can put it right under your babies.
Working. What are you doing today?
Going to Cinnamon Bay. And we are going to just do what they do in the Caribbean. Relax, enjoy, and be with family. Who's doing that to you? You like Rob. Cute. Look who's doing most of the paddling. And that's a huge house being built right there. Whoa.
Built over there already.
Those are nice too. Cool.
There it goes, Les. Cinnamon Bay. Oh, he's not there.
Probably
What you got there, Rob?
A lizard, my pet lizard. Watch.
Wait, let me see.
We'll put him down.
Where is he? Here he is.
One of the leaders over and smack it. It's pretty cool. It's fun.
He's in a day.
Excuse
Couldn't pay
me.
the house rent, they couldn't pay the store rent.
Granddad's talking about the birth of Hoffman Furniture Company. Right?
Transition from
The
mercantile
other
to
man, Whitman
furniture.
Carter, the other man, Carter, he was a, well, I guess you'd call him a redneck. He was a good, nice, fine man, but he's a good country. He's right out, fresh out of the country. He knew nothing about business, but he would be the outside man. He was the collector and the outside salesman. And between the two of them, they managed. But it got where they couldn't even draw for themselves enough to live on. And they were about to go bankrupt. They did go bankrupt in that chapter 7 you and I talked about.
Right.
Now, at that time, under state law, a landlord had a lien on everything that's physically located on the premises that enjoy the protection of the premises. That had a lien upon all the merchandise in his inventory, inside the store. But not a dime's worth of security on about a $50,000 account receivable inventory. Nothing.
There was nothing at that time, you said?
Just listen.
He couldn't collect on his receivables, but he was obligated for his rent.
We didn't get the receivables. They went into bankruptcy. So we obtained, we had the option. Now, meanwhile, across the street was Weatherby Furniture Company. And they let the Bankruptcy Court know they wanted to buy everything.
Huh.
And they bought the receivables because we didn't have the money to buy them with. They didn't buy the inventory because we had a prior lien for the rent, and that was not available. It was not a matter of auctioning. He owed us so much money, if he'd paid us $40,000 back rent, I think Dad might have taken it. But he wanted to pay $15,000, $20,000, something like that. And Dad wouldn't take it. He said he had to make a gamble. He didn't need an empty store of furniture. So he said, get the furniture, and I did legally what was necessary to get it. So we took over the furniture store and the furniture. My brother Lewis he went into the furniture store and he began to sell. $1 down and $1 a week, I mean literally. But what you sell, you have potbelly stoves and iron beds and little old bed springs and things of that, the basics. And pretty soon, that inventory began to run down. Altogether, we figured it's about $15,000 worth. And as the year wore on, I had about $25,000, $30,000 on the books with no money. You sold it and you delivered it. But you wait for them to come, some paid, some didn't pay. So you're faced with this difficulty. In the meanwhile, on the corner, on the same block, there had been a company called Monk Furniture Company. And they'd gone bankrupt. And they had, down on Water Street, where it used to be, before they tore it all down, there were 2 3-story buildings. Now, Monk Furniture Company went bankrupt. And the trustee in bankruptcy did what the law required, pay or surrender the merchandise. So he repossessed all of the merchandise. And there were 3 floors, from floor to ceiling, high, double height ceilings, or 1.5 times height ceilings, of merchandise, used merchandise repossessed. They couldn't give it away, didn't know what to do with it. And I learned what it was. And I went and talked to the trustee, and he said, Mr. Hoffman, he said, if you'll buy, you'll do us a big favor. I said, what's the least we can get for it? He said, well, I can't give you a price. I said, well, I got to know how much we have to pay. He said, well, why don't you just make an offer? Maybe we'll do our best to take it. So we had no money though. We meaning my dad, my brother, my mother. But my uncle, who lived in New York City, who owned Hudson Roofing Guarantee Company, repairing the roofs on the tall buildings in New York City, that was his company.
Really?
And he had a little life insurance with Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. And he borrowed $3,000 on his life insurance and loaned it to my father. And we offered $2,500 for the furniture. And they kissed us when they took it so quick. So there we had furniture coming out of our ears. But we had to get from down there over here. Now we didn't have a truck. Didn't have any money to buy a truck with. But on the corner around on the side of the store, there was a black man named Peter Days, D-A-I-S.
Oh my God.
Unbelievable.
Who used to deliver
He knows
a
his last
load.
name too.
He knows his name.
He used
That's
to deliver a
insane.
load for 25 cents a load.
25 cents a load.
And he was delivering for Hoffman when Louis sold something in the store.
How could he pay for all the gas?
You ask him, honey, I don't know.
He might not be around anymore.
Yes, he is.
Yes,
He is around. He
Well,
and his
go back.
family, they're still in that business.
Really?
They sure
How
are.
old is he now?
Anyhow,
Oh,
we arranged with him, Louis arranged with him for him to haul the stuff from Water Street to the back, to Contact Street, the back end of the store. At 25 cents a load. And he hauled and hauled and hauled and hauled and hauled and hauled. And they got over there, and then they had to do something with him. If they had a couch and the covering was torn off, was torn to rip, you couldn't sell it that way. But Louis got a man named Nelson, I think, who was a genius with his hands. He'd rip all that stuff off, including the batting and the covering and the springs. And he would get some shellac and remove the whatever painting was on it.
How much did he charge for all that?
But
How much did he charge?
I don't know, honey.
$1?
You'll have to listen. I can't. He worked for the store. He was on the salary.
Gotcha.
But they bought bolts of material and big bowls of cotton, almost a bale of cotton, and bed springs and cans of paint and so on. And he was real good. In fact, they bought machines to do the work with, so big heavy sewing machine, all that sort of stuff. And he recovered the damn stuff. And they put it on the floor. And they sold it for maybe $99, $1 down, and 90. Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You had something to sell. If it was a bed spring, I remember they made up a rectangular box that a bed spring would fit into. And they put, up in the ceiling, they put hooks and ropes, and they could hook up with hooks on it, and they could haul it up and get it over this box and lower it into it. And into that box, they bought cans and cans of lye and water, fill it with water, and they lower it into it. Let it stay overnight, haul it out the next day, let it dry, put it over here, and then they take it out and spray paint it. Then it had new bed spring. It looked pretty good.
Wow.
They didn't have spray paint then, did they?
No, spray paint, or whatever they did, maybe they didn't have spray then, whatever. Anyway, they got it painted up a little bit. And whatever they did, if a dining room suit with pearl legs and all that sort of thing had lost a leg, had 3 legs, he had what they call a lathe.
Leg, yeah.
And he'd take one leg off, he'd put it down, and he'd duplicate the broken leg. And he'd put it on and paint it and take off the shellac and remove the old paint and paint it, and they had a dining room suit to sell. Just a real genius. They had a whole operating department back in the back end there. And you had somebody to put on the floor to sell.
Brandon, what year was this?
1933, 34.
Can you pan over? Can I get 1/10 of that genius, please? 1/10. I'll take.
So
1/10.
that's where the funny store came. At the end of 1 year, from that merchandise we got from downtown there, I think Louis put about $20,000 to $25,000 on the books accounts receivable.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, the retail furniture business is peculiar. It's big ticket items. Nobody got the money to pay for them in cash, but you have to sell and collect and so on. But if you've got a $500,000 account receivable, and if you collect $500,000 a year, and if you sell $500,000 a year, if you got $500,000 a year and you collect 10%, you collect $50,000 and you sell $50,000, then you're standing still. You're getting cash. You're on a cash basis of $50,000. Right. Because your inventory started out with you had a receivable of $500,000, and then you still got $500,000. But you sold $50,000, you replaced it, and you paid for it, and you still got your profit out of it. Hopefully, if you can collect.
And I'd like to add my grandfather and my uncle and my cousin are doing this from innate intelligence. There was no business school or anything like that. Correct, Daddy?
Well, Louis was smart. My daddy was smart. Well, they were all smart.
But they didn't go to business school.
They didn't.
Oh, this is our last day. We're loading up the ferry. We're waiting for everyone. That's where we get our ticket. Now we're on the ferry. Did you have fun, Granddad?
Of course I did not. Of course I did. It was wonderful. Besides that, it was pretty good.
Thank you again for a wonderful trip.
Couldn't have done it without you guys. You made it possible. I feel so gratified that you
Getting the stuff off.
Useful.
Back. Charlotte Emily.
I thought the Indians had it tough.
Hey. You like the trip? Did you have fun? How you doing this year?
I'm doing fine. I'm great.
Thanks
I'm
again.
blessed. Good.
Here, Mom. Look.
The lady with the half food.
US Airways Agent 1481 passenger MST.
Cute. Good job, Granda.
You know, all she's going to know about this is what she sees on this video. This whole trip. Squirming?
And that was our trip to St. John, Virgin Islands, February 5th through the 12th, 2004. Aww.